Chapter 1. The laughter came too early. That was the problem. Not the rejection itself. Not the 3 Alpha Kings staring down at me like I was dirt tracked onto their pristine marble floors. Not even the 100 nobles watching from their velvet seats, waiting for me to break. It was the laugh. Because I shouldn't have found it funny. But I did. My name is Vaelor. No last name, no pack, no scent. The council called me defective before they shoved me into transport restraints and dragged me to the Virellion palace like some kind of offering. An offering nobody wanted. The throne room smelled like cedar and smoke and something sharper, pine maybe, mixed with frost. The scent of power. The kind that made your knees buckle if you weren't careful. I stood barefoot on cold obsidian tile, wrists still red from the metal cuffs they'd only removed 5 minutes ago. My clothes were plain. Gray cotton that hung loose on my frame. I looked exactly like what I was. Nothing. The triplet Alpha Kings sat elevated above everyone else, 3 thrones carved from black stone that seemed to drink in the light. Kaith sat in the center, broad shoulders, jaw sharp enough to cut glass, eyes like molten gold. Dominance rolled off him in waves. To his left, Rhaze. Quieter, leaner, but his gaze tracked every movement in the room like he was filing it away for later. Calculating. To the right, Solen, the coldest of the 3. White blonde hair, pale eyes, expression carved from ice. He didn't blink, didn't move, just watched. Hi viewers, have you ever laughed at the worst possible moment and couldn't stop yourself? Drop a comment below. They were beautiful, all 3 of them. The kind of beautiful that made people stupid. But I felt nothing. No pull, no instinct to submit. No omega heat rising in my chest the way it should when an alpha looked at you. Just emptiness. Rhaze spoke first. His voice was smooth, controlled. State your purpose. I tilted my head. My purpose? A noble behind me snickered. Kaith's lip curled. You were presented as a potential mate. That alone is an insult. More laughter rippled through the crowd. Sharper this time. Meaner. I should have been humiliated. Should have dropped my eyes. Apologized. Begged. Instead, I smiled. And then I laughed. It started soft, just a breath of sound. Then it grew, deeper, louder. Something that didn't feel like it came from my throat, but from somewhere beneath my ribs. Somewhere old. The room went silent. Every single person stopped moving. Because laughter in the Omegaverse wasn't defiance. It was danger. Solen leaned forward, just slightly. His pale eyes narrowed. What's amusing? I met his gaze, held it. All of this. Kaith stood. The movement was slow, deliberate, designed to intimidate. He stepped down from the platform, boots echoing against stone. He stopped 3 feet from me, close enough that I should have felt his scent. But I didn't. He frowned, inhaled sharply. Then again. His jaw tightened. Why can't I? Rhaze stood too, moved closer. His nostrils flared. His expression shifted from controlled to disturbed in half a second. Solen didn't move, but his knuckles went white against the armrest of his throne. Something was wrong. Not with me. With them. A noble near the back suddenly gasped. His hand flew to his ear. Blood trickled between his fingers. Thin. Dark. He staggered, eyes wide with shock. Nobody helped him. Nobody moved. The guards stepped forward finally. 2 of them grabbed my arms. Rough. Angry. Kaith's voice cut through the chaos. Remove him! They dragged me backward. My bare feet scraped against the floor. I didn't resist, didn't fight, I just kept smiling. As they hauled me toward the exit, I heard Rhaze's voice, low, almost to himself. Why can't I smell him? The doors slammed shut behind me, and in the silence that followed, I realized something. They felt it too. The absence. The void where something should have been. They just didn't know what it meant yet. But they would. What unsettles you more, being rejected, or realizing the ones who rejected you are starting to unravel because of it? Drop your thoughts below. Chapter 2. The lower district smelled like rot and wet stone. I woke up on a cot that wasn't mine, in a room with 3 other Omegas who wouldn't look at me. They'd shoved me here after the rejection. No trial, no explanation, just exile. Standard procedure for defective goods. I sat up slowly. My wrists still ached. One of the other Omegas, a thin boy with dark circles under his eyes, glanced at me, then immediately looked away. Don't talk to us. I didn't ask why. I already knew. People avoided broken things. It was instinct. I grabbed my coat, threadbare, gray, 2 sizes too big, and left before anyone could say anything else. The streets were narrow here, cramped. Buildings leaned against each other like they were too tired to stand alone. Omegas moved quickly, heads down. Alphas prowled in pairs, scents sharp and aggressive. Betas kept to the edges, trying not to be noticed. I walked through it all like a ghost. Nobody touched me. Nobody spoke to me. But they watched. I stopped at a vendor selling stale bread. The beta behind the counter looked at me, then at the coin in my hand. His expression shifted. Move along. I have money. I said move. I didn't argue, just pocketed the coin and kept walking. 3 blocks later, an alpha stepped out of an alley. Big, scarred, smelled like sweat and old leather. He grinned. Hey, Omega. I stopped. He moved closer, too close. His hand reached for my collar. No scent. That means no protection. Nobody's coming for you. I didn't move, didn't flinch, just looked at him. His grin faltered, then his hand touched my shoulder. He collapsed, just dropped. His body hit the ground hard, convulsing, mouth open. No sound came out. His throat worked, tried to scream, tried to breathe. Nothing. His vocal cords were gone. I stepped over him and kept walking. Behind me, I heard someone whisper, "What the hell was that?" I didn't answer. By the time I reached the edge of the district, the sun was setting. The sky turned deep red, like something was bleeding into it. I sat on a broken wall and stared at the palace in the distance, 3 black spires cutting into the horizon. Somewhere inside, the Alpha Kings were probably already forgetting I existed. That should have been fine. It should have been over. But I felt it. A pull. Not from me, from them. Something was waking up, and it wasn't inside me. It was inside them. A small hand tugged at my sleeve. I looked down. A child, maybe 6 years old, dirty face, wide eyes. She stared at me for a long moment, then whispered, "You're not supposed to be alive." I blinked. What? But she was already running, gone before I could ask what she meant. I sat there in the fading light, alone. Except I wasn't, because somewhere across the city, in the palace I'd been thrown out of, the 3 Alpha Kings woke at the exact same time, gasping, burning. Their bond, flawless, unbreakable, perfectly balanced for 20 years, was rewriting itself, and they had no idea why. Have you ever felt a connection to someone you've never even spoken to? Comment below. Chapter 3. Kaith couldn't breathe. He woke up choking, hand pressed against his chest like something was crushing his ribs from the inside. Sweat soaked through his sheets. His bedroom was cold, always kept cold, but his skin burned. Across the hall, Rhaze stumbled out of bed, slamming his shoulder into the wall. His vision blurred, doubled. He saw his own hands, then he saw them, covered in silver light. What? In the east wing, Solen stood perfectly still in front of his mirror. His reflection stared back. But the eyes weren't his. They were silver. The three of them met in the strategy room 10 minutes later. No words, just the bond pulling them together like it always did. Except this time, it hurt. Kaith gripped the edge of the table. His knuckles were white. "Tell me you felt that." Rhaze nodded. His jaw was clenched. "It's the bond. Something's wrong with it." Solen didn't sit, didn't move, just stood near the window, staring out at the city below. "It's not wrong. It's changing." Kaith's head snapped toward him. "Bonds don't change." "Then explain what just happened." Silence. None of them could. The bond between triplet alphas was supposed to be absolute, unshakable. They'd shared it since birth, felt each other's emotions, knew when one of them was in pain. But this wasn't pain. This was invasion. Rhaze moved to the archives, pulled out old records, lineage documents, anything that might explain what was happening. His hands shook as he flipped through pages. Then he stopped. "There's a symbol here, in the restricted texts." Kaith moved closer. "What kind of symbol?" Rhaze turned the page toward him. It was circular, intricate. Lines woven into a pattern that looked almost like a star, but wrong, inverted. Solen stepped closer. His pale eyes scanned the image. Then he went rigid. "I've seen that before." Kaith frowned. "Where?" "On the Omega." The room went silent. Rhaze's eyes widened. "That's impossible. He was unmarked, we checked." "Not on his skin." Solen's voice was flat, empty. "On the restraints, the ones the council used to transport him." Kaith's expression darkened. Why would the council mark restraints with a restricted symbol? Nobody answered. Because the answer was worse than the question. Rhaze kept reading. His finger traced the text beneath the symbol. Old language, barely legible. Origin line. Bloodline erased. Omega superiority. Suppression protocol enacted. He stopped. Kaith grabbed the book, read it himself. His face went pale. "They weren't always beneath us." Solen turned. "Who?" "Omegas." The word hung in the air like a blade. Rhaze's voice was barely a whisper. "This says Omegas used to rule. That alphas were bound to them, not the other way around." Kaith slammed the book shut. "That's propaganda. Old myths meant to—" "Then why is our bond breaking?" Solen's voice cut through the room like glass. "Why did we all wake up at the same time? Why can't we stop thinking about him?" Kaith's jaw worked. His hands curled into fists. "Find him." Rhaze looked up. "Kaith, find him." Kaith's voice didn't rise, didn't need to. "Before this gets worse." Solen finally spoke. His voice was softer now, almost curious. "What if it's not breaking?" Both of them looked at him. "What if it's correcting itself?" The words settled into the room like ice water. And somewhere across the city, in the lower district, I woke up. Not from sleep, from something deeper. And I knew. They were coming. Do you think fate can be rewritten, or is it something you can't escape? Let me know in the comments. Chapter 4. They came for me at dawn. No warning, no announcement, just the sound of boots on stone and the sharp metallic click of a door being forced open. I was already awake. Sitting on the edge of the cot, coat wrapped tight around my shoulders, waiting. The guards didn't speak, just gestured. Move. I stood, walked between them. Same restraints, same cold metal around my wrists. But this time, nobody dragged me. This time, I walked on my own. The throne room looked different in the early light. Softer, almost fragile. The 3 Alpha Kings were already there. Kaith stood near the center, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Rhaze leaned against a pillar, eyes tracking every step I took. Solen sat on the edge of his throne, elbows on his knees, fingers steepled. Watching. Always watching. The guard stopped 10 feet away, released me, left without a word. The doors closed. Silence. I didn't move, didn't speak, just waited. Kaith broke first. You did something. I tilted my head. I did nothing. Liar. His voice was sharp, hard. Our bond is fracturing. We haven't slept in 3 days, and it started the moment you walked into this room. I met his gaze, held it. Then maybe your bond was already broken. Rhaze pushed off the pillar, stepped closer. Explain. I don't owe you explanations. Solen stood, slowly, deliberately. He moved toward me, silent, predatory. He stopped inches away, close enough that I should have felt his scent, but I didn't. His pale eyes searched mine. What are you? I smiled, just slightly. You already know. His hands shot out, grabbed my wrist. The reaction was immediate, heat, burning. Not from me, from him. Solen hissed and jerked back. His palm was red, blistering. Kaith and Rhaze moved instantly, flanking him, staring at the mark. What the hell? I didn't move, didn't react, just looked at the 3 of them. You feel it now, don't you? Kaith's eyes snapped to mine. Feel what? I stepped closer. Too close. No Omega should stand this close to an Alpha King. But none of them moved, because something in their instincts screamed, don't. Your bond isn't breaking. Rhaze's jaw tightened. Then what's happening? I held his gaze. It's correcting itself. The words hit like a physical blow. Kaith took a step back. That's impossible. Is it? I turned to Solen. His hand was still red, still burning. You touched me, and your body rejected it. Not because I hurt you, because you're not supposed to touch me without permission. Solen's expression went cold. Permission? I smiled. You weren't born kings. You were chosen to replace us. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Rhaze's voice was barely a whisper. What? I didn't answer, just watched. Watched as understanding began to creep into their expressions. Watched as their instincts warred with their pride. Watched as Kaith's knees buckled. Just for a second, just long enough for him to drop. One knee touched the floor. Then he forced himself back up, shaking, furious. No! But his body had already answered, and they all knew it. I turned toward the door. You wanted to know what I am. I stopped, looked back. I'm what you were built to kneel to. The door opened. I walked through it. And behind me, I heard Solen's voice, quiet, shaking. I don't know the difference anymore. If power isn't something you take, but something you simply are, does that make it more dangerous? Comment your thoughts. Chapter 5. The difference anymore. Those words followed me down the hallway like a shadow I couldn't shake. I didn't stop walking, didn't look back, but I heard the doors close behind me, heard the silence that came after. Heavy. Final. The guards waiting outside didn't touch me this time. They just watched as I passed, eyes wide, hands hovering near their weapons but never drawing them. Smart. They brought me to a different room. Not a cell, not the lower district. A chamber. Stone walls, high ceilings, a bed that actually looked clean. A window overlooking the city. One of the guards hesitated at the door. You're to stay here until they decide. I turned, looked at him. Decide what? He swallowed, didn't answer, just closed the door, locked it from the outside. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my hands. They looked normal, pale, thin, unmarked, but I'd felt it when Solen touched me. The rejection, the burn. Not mine, his. They're starting to remember. Hours passed, maybe longer. The sun moved across the sky, painting the walls in shades of gold and red. Then the door opened. Rhaze stepped inside, alone. He closed the door behind him, didn't lock it, just stood there, watching me. The records say your kind were erased, every single one. I didn't respond. He moved closer, slowly, like approaching something wild. They say the origin line was too dangerous, that Omegas with that bloodline could control Alphas, override their will, rewrite bonds. I met his gaze. And? Is it true? I tilted my head, studied him. Rhaze was the strategist, the thinker, the one who calculated outcomes before making moves. But right now, he looked lost. What do you think? His jaw tightened. I think you're not telling us everything. You're right. He blinked, surprised by the honesty. I stood, walked toward him. He didn't move, didn't step back. Brave or stupid. Your system was built on a lie. Alphas were never meant to rule. You were created to serve, to protect, to kneel. His breath hitched. That's insane. Is it? I stopped inches from him, close enough to see the gold flecks in his eyes. Then why did Kaith's knee touch the ground? Silence. Rhaze's hands curled into fists at his sides. He fought it. He got back up. For now. But the bond is already rewriting itself. You feel it. All three of you. Every time you're near me, your instincts scream at you to submit, to protect, to... I paused. Let the word hang in the air. Worship. Rhaze's expression cracked, just for a second. Fear. Raw. Undeniable. What do you want from us? I smiled. Sad. Tired. I don't want anything. I just want you to understand what you took from me. He stared at me, breathing hard, then turned, walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the handle. If what you're saying is true, if we were built to kneel to you, then why does it feel like I'm choosing it? The door closed behind him, and I stood alone in the fading light. Choosing. That was the word that mattered. Because the truth was worse than compulsion. The truth was, they wanted to. Somewhere deep in the palace, Kaith sat in his private chambers, staring at his hands, at the faint tremor he couldn't control. Solen stood at his window, watching the moon rise. His palm still burned. And Rhaze returned to the archives, pulled out every forbidden text he could find, read until his eyes ached, until he found it. A single line, buried in a manuscript older than the kingdom itself. The origin Omega does not command loyalty. They become something you cannot resist giving it to. His hands shook. He closed the book. And across the palace, in my locked room, I whispered into the darkness. You weren't born kings. You were always meant to be mine. When loyalty isn't forced but freely given, does that make it more powerful or more terrifying? Drop your thoughts below. And if you're hooked, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. This story is just getting started. Chapter 6. The scent hit me first. Cedar, smoke, frost. All three of them. I woke to the sound of the lock clicking open. Sat up slowly. The room was still dark. Early morning. The kind of quiet that feels heavy. Kaith stepped inside first, then Solen, then Rhaze. They closed the door behind them. Didn't speak, just stood there, watching me. I didn't move, didn't ask why they were here. I already knew. Kaith broke the silence. His voice was rough, tired. We can't stay away from you. I looked at him. I know. Solen stepped closer. His pale eyes were colder than usual, sharper. This isn't natural. No, I met his gaze. It's older than natural. Rhaze leaned against the wall, arms crossed, expression unreadable. We've spent the last 2 days trying to figure out how to break whatever this is. Did you find anything? He didn't answer, didn't need to. Kaith moved closer, stopped at the foot of the bed, stared down at me. If you can control us, why haven't you? I tilted my head. Because I don't need to. His jaw tightened. That's not an answer. It's the only one you'll get. Solen sat on the edge of the bed, uninvited, too close. His hand hovered near mine, not touching, just there. We're losing control. I looked at his hand, at the faint red mark still visible on his palm. You never had it. You just thought you did. Rhaze's voice cut through the tension. Then what do we have? I looked at each of them, one by one. Kaith, the leader, the one who carried the weight of command like armor. Solen, the observer, the one who saw everything and felt nothing. Rhaze, the thinker, the one who needed answers more than air. You have a choice. Kaith's eyes narrowed. What choice? I stood, slowly, walked toward him. He didn't move, didn't step back, but his breathing changed, faster, shallower. I stopped inches away, close enough to feel the heat radiating off him. You can fight this. Keep pretending you're something you're not. Keep trying to suppress what your instincts are screaming at you. Or you can accept it. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Kaith's hands trembled, just slightly. Accept what? I reached up, slowly, touched his chest, right over his heart. He flinched, but didn't pull away. That you were made for me. His breath hitched. Solen stood, moved closer. His expression was unreadable. And if we refuse? I smiled, sad, tired. Then you'll spend the rest of your lives fighting a bond that only gets stronger. You'll wake up every morning feeling like something's missing. You'll see me in every shadow, feel me in every silence. And eventually, you'll break. Rhaze pushed off the wall, stepped closer. Why us? I looked at him, really looked. Because you're the only ones left who can handle what I am. And I'm tired of being alone. The words hung in the air like smoke. Kaith's hand moved, slowly, hesitantly, touched mine. This time, there was no burn, no rejection, just warmth. He exhaled, shaky, unsteady. I don't want you. I need you. Solen's hand found my other one. Rhaze stepped closer, touched my shoulder, and for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't empty. But somewhere deep in the palace, a door opened. Footsteps echoed, a voice, cold, commanding. Find the Omega and eliminate him before the bond completes. Because the council had been watching, waiting, and they weren't about to let their system collapse. When 3 kings kneel, who really holds the power? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. The next chapter changes everything. Share your thoughts and inspire others. Chapter 7. The explosion tore through the east wing at midnight. I woke to the sound of stone crumbling, screaming, the acrid smell of smoke and sulfur. Kaith was already moving, pulling me off the bed. Stay behind me. Solen appeared in the doorway. Blood streaked across his temple, eyes wild. Council attack! They're targeting this room. Rhaze was right behind him, sword drawn. We need to move, now! I didn't argue. We ran. The hallways were chaos. Guards fighting guards, nobles fleeing, flames licking up the walls like living things. A blade came out of nowhere, aimed at my throat. Kaith intercepted it, snapped the attacker's wrist, drove his fist into the man's chest hard enough to crack ribs. Touch him again and I'll rip your spine out. The man collapsed, choking, dying. We kept moving. Solen led us through a side passage, narrow, dark, the kind of route only someone who'd lived here their whole life would know. Behind us, I heard voices, shouting, coordinating. Find the Omega. He can't leave the palace alive. Rhaze glanced back. They're not stopping. Kaith's jaw tightened. Then we don't stop either. We reached the lower courtyard. Open space, exposed. A mistake. Arrows rained down from the walls, fast, deadly. Solen shoved me behind a pillar, took an arrow through the shoulder, didn't even flinch, just pulled it out, kept moving. Keep going. Rhaze turned, faced the archers, raised his hand. Stand down. They didn't. So he didn't give them another chance. The fight was brutal, fast, efficient. Kaith moved like a storm, all raw power and rage. Solen fought like ice, precise, lethal. Rhaze was the blade in the dark, the one you never saw coming. And I just watched. Because something was shifting inside me, something I'd kept buried for so long I'd forgotten it was there. One of the attackers broke through, got past the kings, lunged at me, blade aimed at my heart. I didn't move. Didn't need to. The air around me shimmered. The attacker stopped mid-stride, eyes wide, gasping. His weapon clattered to the ground. He dropped to his knees. What are you? I looked down at him. The thing they tried to erase. His throat closed. He fell, dead before he hit the ground. Kaith turned, stared at me, blood on his hands, breathing hard. "What did you do?" I didn't answer, just kept walking. We reached the outer gates. Freedom. Escape. But Rhaze stopped, turned back toward the palace. If we run, they win. The council takes everything. Kaith grabbed his shoulder. If we stay, they kill him. Solen stepped between them. Then we end this. Tonight. I looked at the three of them, bloodied, exhausted, still standing, still protecting me. And I realized something. I was never meant to survive alone. I turned back toward the palace, started walking. Kaith's voice stopped me. "Vaelor, stay close. This ends now." We walked back into the flames, together, and somewhere deep inside the council chambers, an old man sat in shadow, watching through a scrying glass. The Origin Omega finally wakes. Good. Let's see if he remembers how to die. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I wasn't waking up. I was remembering. And gods don't die. They return. The palace doors exploded inward. The three Alpha Kings entered first, eyes glowing gold, then shifting, silver. And behind them, I stepped into the light. The council froze, stared, because the air around me wasn't shimmering anymore. It was burning. When the ones who tried to erase you realize you were never gone, just waiting, how do you think that story ends? Drop your thoughts, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The finale is next, and you won't want to miss it. Share this story and inspire others to never underestimate the quiet ones. Chapter 8. The council chamber went silent. Not the kind of silence that comes from shock, the kind that comes from prey realizing it's been cornered. 15 council members sat in a semicircle, robes, symbols, power carved into every stone around them, but their hands were shaking. I stepped forward, slowly. The Alpha Kings flanked me, Kaith on my left, Solen on my right, Rhaze just behind, not guarding me, standing with me. The head counselor stood, old, gray-haired, eyes like flint. "You have no authority here, Omega." I stopped walking, looked at him. "Omega? Is that what you still think I am?" His jaw tightened. I took another step. The torches flickered, not from wind, from something else. "You erased my line, burned the records, rewrote history so Alphas would forget what they were made for." Another step. "But you can't rewrite instinct." Kaith's voice cut through the tension. Viciously. "The bond isn't broken. It was never ours to begin with." Solen's eyes glowed faintly silver. "It was always his." Rhaze didn't speak, just drew his blade. The head counselor's expression shifted. Fear. Real fear. "Guards!" Nobody moved, because every guard in the room was on their knees. Not forced, just instinct. I stopped in front of the head counselor, looked up at him. "You thought you could kill what I am. But I'm not something you kill. I'm something you kneel to." His legs buckled. He fought it, every muscle straining, every ounce of pride screaming. But his knee touched the floor, then the other. And one by one, the council fell. Not from violence, not from force, just from the weight of something older than their kingdom, older than their laws, older than the lie they'd built everything on. I turned away from them, walked toward the center of the chamber. The kings followed. Kaith's hand found mine, rough, warm. What happens now? I looked at him, then at Solen, then at Rhaze. I don't know. I never planned to survive this long. Solen stepped closer, touched my face, gentle, careful. Then we figure it out, together. Rhaze's hand rested on my shoulder. You're not alone anymore. And for the first time, I believed it. The bond between us wasn't complete, not yet, but it was there, growing, stronger with every breath. I looked up at the ceiling, at the skylight above. The moon hung full and bright, but next to it, faint, almost invisible, a second moon, silver. I stared at it. I'm not the last. Kaith followed my gaze. What? I didn't answer, just kept staring, because somewhere out there, beyond the kingdom, beyond the borders, beyond the system that tried to erase us, there were others. Waking up, remembering. And the world that had forgotten us was about to remember why we were erased in the first place. I turned back to the kings, smiled, faint, real. Thank you. Kaith frowned. For what? For choosing me, when you could have chosen power. Solen's hand tightened on mine. You are our power. Rhaze stepped closer, and we'll protect it, no matter what comes. I looked at the three of them, bloodied, exhausted, still standing, still mine. And I realized, real power doesn't demand loyalty. It becomes something you can't resist giving. The council remained on their knees. The guards stayed bowed. The kingdom held its breath. And I whispered into the silence. Let them remember. The second moon grew brighter, and somewhere far away, another Omega opened their eyes. Silver. Glowing. Awake. Chapter 9. The second moon didn't fade. It hung there, silver, bright, growing stronger with every passing hour. The palace was quiet now, the kind of quiet that comes after a storm, after everything changes and nobody knows what to say. I stood on the balcony outside my chamber, the one they'd given me. Not a cell, not a holding room, a home. Kaith found me first. He didn't say anything, just stood beside me, shoulder to shoulder, staring at the sky. What does it mean? The second moon? I didn't look at him. It means the seal is breaking. His jaw tightened. What seal? I turned, met his gaze. The one your ancestors put on my kind, to keep us from waking, to keep us scattered, alone. But seals don't last forever. Kaith's expression shifted. Not fear, something closer to acceptance. How many? I don't know. I looked back at the moon. But enough. Solen appeared in the doorway, silent as always. His pale eyes tracked the second moon. If more Origin Omegas wake, the entire system collapses. I nodded. Yes. It has to. Rhaze stepped onto the balcony. He had scrolls tucked under his arm, old ones, forbidden ones. I found records, encrypted, hidden in the deepest archives. He spread one across the stone railing, ancient text, symbols I recognized. The origin line was not eliminated. They were separated, bound to different regions, different kingdoms, so they could never unite. Because together, they could rewrite everything. I smiled, sad, tired. That's why they tried so hard to kill us. Because we're not meant to rule alone. Silence. Heavy. Kaith's hand found the small of my back. Protective. Grounding. Then what happens when they all wake up? I looked at the three of them. My kings. My bond. My choice. I don't know. But I know I won't face it alone anymore. Solen stepped closer. His hand covered mine on the railing. You won't. Rhaze's voice was steady, strong. Whatever comes, we stand with you. But even as they spoke, I felt it. A pull. Not from them. From somewhere else. Far away. Across mountains. Across oceans. Another heartbeat. Another presence. Waking. I closed my eyes, reached out with something I didn't understand, something instinctive, and I felt them. 3 more. Kaith stiffened. Where? North, east, and I paused, opened my eyes. One is close. Too close. Rhaze grabbed the scrolls, started searching. How close? I turned, looked toward the city below, toward the lower districts. They've been here the whole time. Hiding. Solen's expression went cold, dangerous. Then we find them, before the council does. But even as he said it, a scream tore through the night, distant, raw, terrified, coming from the lower district. Kaith was already moving. Rhaze, secure the palace. Solen, with me. I grabbed his arm. I'm coming. He turned, stared at me. Vaelor, they're like me. If the council finds them first, they'll kill them. I won't let that happen. His expression cracked, just for a second. Then he nodded. Stay close. We ran, through hallways, downstairs, out into the streets. The lower district was chaos, fire, screaming, guards in council colors dragging people from their homes, searching, hunting. And in the center of it all, a figure, small, thin, barely standing, surrounded by guards, but none of them could get close. Because the air around them shimmered with the same silver light I'd seen in my own reflection. I stopped, stared. Another origin. The figure turned, looked directly at me. Eyes like mercury, hair like midnight. Younger than me, maybe 19, maybe less. And terrified. A guard lunged. The origin's hand shot out. Stay back! The guard collapsed, convulsing, silent, just like the Alpha who'd touched me. I stepped forward, slow, careful. It's okay. The Origin's eyes snapped to mine. Who are you? I smiled, faint, real. Someone like you. And you're not alone anymore. Their knees buckled, relief, overwhelming. I caught them before they fell. And the moment we touched, the bond flared. Not romantic, not like the kings. Familial. Like finding a piece of yourself you didn't know was missing. Kaith and Solen cleared the guards, fast, brutal. Rhaze appeared moments later, eyes wide. There's another one, 2 districts over. The council's already moving. I looked down at the Origin in my arms, then at my kings. Then we moved faster. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. This was about all of us. And the world that tried to erase us was about to learn what happens when the erased fight back. The second moon blazed brighter, and across the kingdom, a third Origin opened their eyes, then a fourth, then more. Waking, remembering, rising. When the silenced finally find their voice and each other, what do you think happens next? Comment below. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because this story is expanding into something massive. Share this with someone who's ever felt erased. Remind them they're not alone. Chapter 10. We found the second origin in a burning building. Smoke poured from the windows. Flames licked the roof. Guards surrounded the entrance, but they wouldn't go inside because they could hear it, the sound coming from within. Not screaming, singing. Low, haunting. A melody that made your chest tighten and your instincts scream. Kaith grabbed my shoulder. "Vaelor, wait!" I shook him off. "They're dying in there." Solen blocked my path. "The building's collapsing. You go in, you don't come out." I met his eyes. "Then come with me." His expression shifted. Then he stepped aside. "Always." We went in together. The heat was unbearable. Smoke so thick I couldn't see 3 feet ahead. But I followed the sound, the singing. We found them on the second floor, sitting cross-legged in the center of a room, flames all around, untouched. They looked up as we entered, older than the first origin, mid-20s maybe, long hair braided down their back, eyes like molten gold. "You're late." I blinked. "What?" They stood, brushed ash off their clothes. "I've been waiting 3 hours. Thought maybe you'd forgotten about me." Kaith stared. "You're joking?" The origin smiled, sharp, dangerous. "Humor's how I cope. Sue me." The ceiling groaned, cracked. Solen grabbed them. "We need to move, now." The origin didn't resist, just let themselves be pulled along. But as we ran, they looked at me. "You felt it, didn't you? The others waking." I nodded. "How many?" "7 so far." My heart stopped. "7?" They nodded. "And more coming." We burst out of the building seconds before it collapsed. Rubble, dust, the roar of flames, the guards scattered. Rhaze was waiting with the first origin, the younger one, still shaking but standing. They looked at the second origin. Recognition flashed in their eyes. "I dreamed about you." The second origin smiled, sad, knowing. "I know. I dreamed about you too." I looked between them, then at Kaith, Solen, Rhaze. "This is just the beginning." Rhaze pulled out a map, marked locations. "If there are 7, and they're all waking at once, the council will hunt every single one." Kaith's jaw tightened. "Then we find them first." Solen's voice was cold, lethal, "and we protect them." The second origin stepped forward, looked at me. "You know what this means, right?" I nodded. "War. They'll never let us live." The origin's expression hardened. "Then we don't give them a choice." The first origin, young, trembling, but standing tall, spoke for the first time since we'd rescued them. What do we do?" I looked at them, at the second origin, at my kings. "We find the others. We bring them together. And we show this world what they tried to erase." Kaith's hand found mine. Solen's rested on my shoulder. Rhaze stood at my side. And for the first time, I wasn't just surviving. I was leading. The second moon burned brighter than ever, and across the kingdom, across the continent, across the world, the origins woke. One by one, eyes opening, powers awakening, bonds forming. And the system that had ruled for 1,000 years began to crumble. Because gods don't stay buried forever. They rise. And when they do, the world remembers why it feared them in the first place. I looked up at the twin moons, silver and white, balanced, finally. And I whispered into the night, "Let them come. We're ready." When the forgotten rise and the oppressed unite, what kind of world do they build? One of mercy or one of reckoning? Drop your answer in the comments. This is the end of Book 1, but the story continues. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens when all 7 origins unite. Share this story with someone who needs to remember. You are never as powerless as they want you to believe. Inspire others, be the change, and never, ever let them erase you.